time to go big or go home. Here are 19 reasons to read Under the Dome. Hi everyone, I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram. Welcome to my channel. This is where I'm going through the works of Stephen King in chronological order and giving you 19 reasons to read every single one of his books. Click around the rest of my page when you're done watching this one, see if there's anything you like, and if you enjoy what you see here, hit subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future. Tractor. In this video we're up to 2009 and this mammoth doorstopper of a book, Under the Dome. I'm going to give you 19 reasons to read this blockbuster of a novel, and I'll cluster any spoilers together at the end and give you warning when they're coming, so if you need to dip out before then, you can do. But other than that, my hand's getting really sore now trying to hold this fucking heavy book, so let's get into it. Feels right to start with the hook of this one because it's simple but staggeringly effective. Out of nowhere, the small Maine town of Chester's Mill is cut off from the rest of the world when a mysterious dome drops out of the sky right over the town. Now that's particularly bad news for the little chipmunk that happens to be standing right at the line where the dome drops, and also for the people in a plane having a flying lesson at the time. Now nothing can get in or out from the dome, and well, that's basically the hook. And we spend the rest of the book watching as the town divides and descends into chaos. Now I know what you're thinking, that sounds quite a lot like the Simpsons movie from 2007, right? Quite a few people thought that, and King actually had to do a bit of his own detective work to show that he hadn't ripped off the Simpsons movie. So this book has been knocking around since the 70s. It started life in the 70s as Under the Dome, and he wrote a few pages but didn't really get anywhere with it and eventually lost those pages. Then fast forward to 1982 when King was working on Creepshow and he picked it up again, this time called it The Cannibals, and it was more set in an apartment block that got cut off from the rest of the world. Now King actually has made those pages of that manuscript available as a download on his website as part of proving that this stuff was knocking around long before the Simpsons movie. Anyway, the cannibals didn't have legs, they probably ate them, I don't know, but eventually he picked it up, went back to Under the Dome, and finally churned out this mammoth of a book. He actually got on a real roll when he was writing it and managed to churn out that thing in 15 months. And then finally Under the Dome was done. Third time's a charm. Given that this started life in the 70s, it's probably no surprise that this does read like one of those cocaine-fueled wild King epics of early in his career. It's a sprawling cast of characters across an entire town, more than 1,000 pages. There's horror, there's sex, there's violence, there's loads of stuff going on. If you like classic King and you've not read Under the Dome, you should change that because you'll have a great time. So Under the Dome is so packed full of set pieces that you are never far away from an endorphin rush, and it keeps you flicking through those pages, which is good because there's a lot of them to get through. And so many of the set pieces are really excellent. The arrival of the dome is spectacular, but also things like the riot at the supermarket and the carnage at Visitor Day are well worth it and totally memorable. Another reason many constant readers will enjoy this one is because of how subtle it is. And when I say subtle, it's about as subtle as a brick through the window then hitting you in the face. This is Popcorn King at full volume, so turn it up, get comfy, and dig in. I mentioned Under the Dome has a huge cast of characters. Now I won't read them all because frankly I don't have time or the inclination, but it's worth dedicating a couple of reasons to individual characters because they are particular standouts. We should probably start with Dale Barbara, the nominated hero, an out-of-towner, an Iraq war veteran who is trying to leave Chester's Mill when the dome drops. He is the easy choice to be the scapegoat when the town is cut off, and well, that's what happens to him. Now, he is a little bland in comparison to some of the other characters, but actually that works as a real good balancing act, because as you'll discover, some of the other folk in this town are fucking crazy. Talking fucking crazy, Junior Rennie. I'm not going to say too much because of spoilers, but let's just say you wouldn't want to have anything to do with this person. Or indeed his dad, Big Jim Rennie. Now I shouted Big Jim out in my recent top 19 King characters video, and he is the driving force in this particular story. He's a classic King bad man, local used car salesman turned town selectman turned police chief, turned politician, but all the time general terrifying fat monster. He is a wild caricature, and for any other novel he would be too much, but actually for something as unhinged and as beastly as Under the Dome, he's the perfect match. So we've also got Julia Shumway, the left-leaning editor of the town paper, who always feels like she's got something to prove and ends up being a vital character as the town tries to survive under the dome. She also has a cool dog. In fact, Under the Dome specifically mentions dogs in its list of characters at the start of the book. Now, we all know what that usually means when a dog appears in a King book, but listing the dogs at the front, that's cool. I'm also going to shout out Rusty Everett, a hospital worker who suddenly ends up getting quite a few more promotions than he would have ever thought he would when the dome drops. He's a classic King side character, normal guy doing normal things, placed in an abnormal situation and having to react. So coming as it did in the late noughts, the publishers tried to do some viral marketing with this, and they created a bunch of websites to try and make the town of Chester's Mill feel more real and more alive. Loads of stuff going on, and even a bit of a role-playing game where you can bounce around from site to site. All sounds very cool, but let's face it, the one author in the world who doesn't need viral marketing is Stephen King. So Chester's Mill, the town itself, is actually modelled on the real town of Bridgeton, Maine, where King lived for a few years. Fun fact for you about Bridgeton, that's the setting for The Mist, whereas Chester's Mill, as we mentioned in the Just After Sunset video, does get a little reference in N, one of the stories collected in that one. Okay, it's time to enter spoiler territory, so if you've not gone under the dome yet, you might want to leave here. Okay, let's get back to Junior Rennie right away. He is full of the bad gunky, a brain tumour to be precise, which causes him to be somewhat unhinged. Unhinged to the point where he murders his girlfriend, murders her friend, hides the bodies, and then starts having sex with the bodies. All in the first 200 pages of this book. Yeah, he is wild and fucking terrifying. And by wild I mean feral, not wild in any sort of cool way. So the dome causes some weird shit to happen to certain people who get too close to it. Most noticeably, Chief of Police Duke Perkins, whose pacemaker literally explodes out of his chest right at the start of the book. Again, it's so close to the start, such a frantic opening that you kind of need a pacemaker yourself. So there are a bunch of crazy scenes in this one, but one of the ones that really sticks in my mind is when the young, grief-stricken Rory Dinsmore tries to shoot at the dome with a gun, only for the bullet to bounce right back off and go straight through his eye and blind him, eventually killing him as he dies on the operating table. It's so visceral and so harrowing. Now, as we roll towards the end of the book, we learn a subplot of a meth farm that Big Jim is sort of in charge of, has lost control of, and is trying to get back in his grip. He decides to do that by blowing it up when the town's under a dome. Yeah, good idea, Big Jim. So we start this book with a population of around 2,000 people in Chester's Mill. 26 survive. Apart from books like The Stand and Cell, this could well be King's biggest bloodbath. Really, the only real problem with Under the Dome, and it's unfortunate because it ties into a cliche, is the ending. This book is so full on for so many pages that frankly any kind of ending was going to be a bit of a letdown, but this ending is a letdown. When we discover that the dome was dropped there by some curious alien kids, and all that needs to happen for them to take the dome away is for the humans to sort of ask quite nicely, yeah, it's a bit flat. But when King has had his pedal to the floor for so much of this book, like I said, anything was going to feel a little bit of a downer in comparison to that. And, you know, he's written worse endings, and one dog at least survives, so I'll take that. So there we go, 19 reasons to read Under the Dome. Do let me know what you think of this crazy, crazy book in the comments. And also, let me know whether I should bother watching seasons 2 and 3 of the adaptation of Under the Dome, or whether I should just carry on with my life and, you know, do fun stuff. I've seen series 1. Yeah, I know what I might be letting myself in for. If you want more videos looking at reasons to read Stephen King's books, you've come to the right place. There's loads of them on this page. Do click around my channel, and hey, hit subscribe if you like what you see so you don't miss any more in the future. Still got loads more to come. And if you want to chat under the dome or anything else King, come over to my Instagram. I'm at Dave Musson, always happy to talk in my DMs. Next up, it's time for another ranking because we've now ticked off another decade. So join me next time as I count down my listing, my ranking of King in the noughts.